Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here at Dubai Watch Week for Hands of Time, the Dufour story. And I have the great pleasure of introducing one of my biggest heroes, the father of independent watchmaking, the man who made the world's first Grand Petite Sonnerie wristwatch, and an incredibly handsome man and master of the pink suit, Mr. Philippe Dufour. How are you, sir?
Merci. Merci. Merci.
And just next to him is his daughter, Daniela Dufour, who has become one of my favorite people in the watch industry as well. How are you, Daniela?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm perfect. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay.
So, Philippe, you know, you are one of the greatest legends in the watch industry. You are the father of independent watchmaking, let's just say that, right? But it was really interesting when I had the opportunity to come to your birthday party this year. I realized for the first time that a man can have the biggest reputation in the world. He could have all the riches in the world, but without the love of his family, he has nothing. Would you agree with this, sir?
Yeah, of course, alone you don't do so much, in fact, but you need a family around you, and I have a two-person with me all the time, and that's help a lot. Yes.
I have to say your wife is incredible also.
Yes.
Mrs. Dufour, chapeau.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, Daniela, it's often been said that you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. But in fact, you chose your family and you actually chose your dad. Could you tell the audience a little bit about how you decided that Philippe was going to be your father?
So, actually, I'm French, so we were living in near Paris with my mother. And one day we had to move to another part of the city, so we took the metro, but unfortunately we stopped at the wrong station. That station was the Louvre. And then we had to go to the pass rail and to the other side to be able to get back to the real place we have to be. And we had to take the lift. At that time, there was an exhibition called Belle Montre, who doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. And so with my mother, we went to take the lift. And in that lift, there was a stranger that I, at my 3 years old, thought he was amazing, handsome, beautiful. And so I asked him, would you like to be my father? You know what happens after? I received a magistral slap in the face that I will ever remember. But that person right there took my defense and said that there is a lot of truth in the mouth of a little girl. And so this is how everything started.
Exactly. Right.
Philippe, can you tell us a little bit? How did that moment affect you, and how did you fall in love with Elizabeth and Daniela?
Well, at that time I was alone, you know, and maybe I was a little bit lost, I would say. And meeting Leo and Daniela helped me a lot to go back to the track, I would say, you know, yeah. And they are great support. Not easy always to live with them because the three of us we have strong character, you know. Sometimes it's a bit fighting, but yeah, always we arrive to understand each other. Yeah.
It's interesting to me that you say that you were a bit lost at the time, and by falling in love with Leo and getting to know Daniela and having a family again, it helped to set you back on the right track. Mm-hmm. How important was that for someone to have this foundation as they're trying to work and build a career?
I didn't say that. I mean,
how important is it to have a foundation of support, of love, when you're trying to build your career?
Yeah, it's basic. You know, if if you work just for yourself, you have nobody to share with, it's no point. But when you know you have two person behind you, push you, it helps. It's yes.
I love that. Philippe, when you first started off as an independent watchmaker, basically you were alone, right?
Yes.
Everyone looks at independent watchmaking today as very sexy, very fashionable, very exciting. The values of the watches are crazy now in the secondary market. What made you want to strike out on your own and create a watch with your name on it when no one else was doing this?
Yes, in fact, it's if I want to resume a bit my life, I start watchmaking at the age of 15, I mean 60 years ago. And I went to the school, technical school, but I didn't choose. It was no other thing to do. My parents couldn't have me out of the Vallée de Joux to learn a profession, so they told me choose in this valley. And at that time I was playing with an old motorbike, and I said, okay, I want to go to the school to learn mechanic. And I went for the exam, and the results, they told me your head and your hands are working fine together, but mathematics are not so good. I knew that. I hate mathematics. And they told me, well, you are just good enough to be watchmaker. Yeah, it's how I started. But you have to realize the first month, I discovered something marvelous. You take a piece of material, it could be brass, steel, you drill, you file, you mile, and from a piece of material, you create something. We start by creating our tools. I still have in my workshop some tools I made many years ago, And then you start to make your own watch, the school watch. Same thing, you drill, you file. And for the first time, you put two gears meshing together. Well, it's just magic, And I never came out, okay? And after that, okay, I made some different experiences, different countries, because I wanted to see, I was never been out of the Vallée de Joux, So I wanted to see abroad. So I worked in Germany, I worked in England, I worked 2 years in the US Virgin Islands, always in watchmaking. Then I came back in Vallée de Joux, the difficult period, when we have what we call the quartz crisis. And then I worked 5 years restoring old pocket watches, complicated pocket watches for auction. Okay, and during these 5 years I learned so much by seeing what the old people did and thinking how they did it, with which tool and everything. And that pushed me, beside my restoration work, to start to make a new movement. And I made the first was a 19-line Grand Sonnery minute repeater. That means a pocket-size watch. And at that time, I didn't have money to invest in a case, gold case. So I put it in a brass case with 2 glasses, and I went around to Lucerne, Zurich, Geneva to see shops, collectors, and everybody used to say, yeah, carry on, it's nice. But nobody trusts me. But very often they say, why don't you propose that to a brand? So I proposed that to a brand very close to my village, AP. And they ordered me 5 watches. It's not many watches, but in terms of work, it's 2 years. 5 years, because it took me 2,000 hours to make a watch. It's how I started to make watches, is for the other. But on the 5 watches I made for them, they broke 2, So I mean, it was no respect for the work I did. And one day I say, no more for the other. I prefer to go and sweep the street, you know, but I'm not working anymore for a brand. And since that day, I start my brand, and it took me 2 years and a half to realize my first watch. It was a Grand Sonnery mini repeater, but wristwatch, and I launched it in Basel in '92. It's how I started.
It's incredible, Philippe. People sometimes don't realize that what a struggle it was, though. Am I correct that you even mortgaged your house to have?
Yeah, of course, yes, yes. Even the cat and the dog was a mortgage. Yeah. It's true, but I always fight to be free, you know. And it's what I say to the young generation, the young watchmaker, you know, who are starting to produce their brand. And so I say, careful, don't go too fast, but please don't let foreign money coming in your business, because we have so many examples. Very talented watchmaker, you know, and one day are going because they shut the robinet. I don't know what you say.
Funding.
Funding, exactly. Yes. You see.
Yes. So Philippe, you became a watchmaker because you were not good at math.
Yeah.
I love that. Daniela, you know, you growing up in Paris, you're incredibly chic. You were at one point a ballerina. How do you go from Paris to the Vallée des Joues? Or was Le Sentier just so geographically exciting for you that you decided I have to move here?
It was very complicated because you pass from a very hectic, dynamic city to a village in Paris. You open the door, you have a building in front of you. When I arrived to the Vallée des Joues, you open your front door and you see a cow. So this is not the same thing. It still have his chic because it's countryside. But yes, it was very, very complicated. When I was a little girl, I was in a ballet school and I hoped to become a ballet dancer. But I also love to sing, so I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a police officer, maybe a doctor. And I didn't even know watchmaking ever existed. I knew watchmaking through my father. Around my 10 to 12 years old, I get very curious because my father were passing so much time at the workshop, so I wanted to see what he was doing there. And he kind of transmitted me the virus of watchmaking, I can say it that way. And I went with him to my first watches exhibitions, to gala, to auctions. I discovered the watchmaking world. And when I arrived at my 12 years old, you have to have in mind a job, what you want to do with the rest of your life. And me, I told him that I wanted to become a watchmaker. And during 2 years, we had issues because he didn't want me to become a watchmaker.
Wow.
Telling me that I was smart enough to continue the studies, to go to the universities, to do what he couldn't do. Also to the fact that it was an old job, and it wasn't made for a woman.
Yeah, I told you it's not for you, it's an old profession. Do something more modern. But you were fighting, and finally you did it.
Yes, and you were happy that I passed
Yes.
the exam entrance to the technical
Exactly.
school, and I succeed this. So this is where I started to have an apprenticeship in watchmaking. But to tell you the truth, because this is the harsh truth about it, and it's not for you to be pitiful. It's just to explain. It wasn't easy for me. A few weeks ago, I was talking with my mother. Sorry if I get a bit emotional. And this wasn't the most happiest moment of my life. Why I'm saying that? Because, and I'm sorry to say that, I was in depression during 10 years in my scholarship. Because when you arrive there, we were thinking with my mother that we were two niggas who came to steal the money of Philippe Dufour. This is how it's all started. And it's easy to remain silent, and it asks courage to tell the truth. People gonna say, but she's 22 years old, born yesterday, didn't accomplish something yet. But you have to understand that being the daughter of is more complicated than that. It's not enough. You have to work even more than the others to prove that, unfortunately, you're legitimate to do it. And actually never really talked about it with my father, but my parents were very supportive during that time, and all I own is to them and to God. I think I want to pass a message. If you have a destiny that God built for you, nobody can compete it. What have to arrive at the time will arrive. Because this is, thank you. Because this is what you here to do. If you have a dream, if you have something to do, do it. Me, I really had these obstacles. I've been through so much in my life. But I did continue. Why did I continue? Because I had a goal to reach. Because I knew that I wanted to be a watchmaker. I wanted to work with my father. And thank you. And nobody forced me to become a watchmaker. And I can tell you that I do not regret having passed through all this, because it's been 2 years that I'm working with my father, and it's the most amazing time of my life. And I will never thank my parents enough for the sacrifice they did for me to become the woman I am today. People don't understand how parents are so much important for children. I'm not talking like a little child who's lost. I'm talking as a woman and a father who give you a real strong education, who give you values of humility, values of respecting people and their time, because time is the only wealth that we all have in common. This is something you have to remember. You have to remember where you're from. You have to remember who you are. You have to remember every step in your life who were an obstacle, but you succeed. You have to have a vision where you want to go, what you want to be, with who you want to be tomorrow. And also, for me, I believe in God, and I think the protection of God in your life is also important. Believe in something, believe in you, and respect people around you.
Merci.
Daniela, I know you are a very courageous and very strong person, and you would probably never mention this, but I would like to just ask you a question. I know that when you were at watchmaking school, you faced also a lot of bullying. You faced a lot of pressure because you were the daughter of, and even some racism as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I was the youngest one. My skin color were different. I'm not saying that for you to be pitiful to me. I'm just explaining. I love who I am. I love my name. I love my parents. And I think this is my strength. And of course, I had times when I was manufacturing something or saying something, it was my father who did it at my place. And when I wasn't be able to manufacture something good, I should have known it, because I was the daughter of. So this is why I'm telling you that being the daughter of is not enough. You have to work harder, better, faster, bigger than all the others to prove that you're legitimate.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Philippe, your apprenticeship is notoriously difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Many have tried and none have exceeded except for one. In fact, I think even to begin the apprenticeship, you have to stand outside in the snow for 2 days and not eat anything. Am I correct, Philippe? No, I joke, but at what point did you realize, Daniela, wow, she has ability, she has skill?
During his watchmaking school program, you know, she used to come in the workshop the Wednesday, and because we work very often the weekend also, and she used to come to me, you know, and I show her all different steps, and I told her we are going to start from A to Z to finish a simplicity model, okay? It was not easy at the beginning, but little by little, and to push her, you know, to encourage her, I told her, when the watch is finished, you can keep it. It's yours. It's for you. So believe me, she worked hard, and the watch she's wearing today, that's the one she did. It was the first simplicity she did.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I remember there was a museum exhibition of finishing in I think one of the small towns in the valley, and they received a base plate from you for a simplicity, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Dufour, thank you so much. This is the most perfectly finished base plate that we have ever received." And you replied to them, "Are you crazy? This is the one I rejected. Why would I give it to you otherwise?" So your standards are incredibly high. Okay, so I'm sure everyone here knows, but the simplicity is, as the name implies, a simple 3-hand watch that is finished to the highest level of perfection, right? So, Daniela, how much pressure did you feel as you were making your simplicity, and did you know you would succeed?
I knew that I keep the movement, you keep the gesture, you learn more. And I remember when it was the last day, when I put the movement in the case, I showed it to you and I started crying because I really thought about all the things that happens and say, okay, I have it. It means that I'm capable to do something. And I really choose that profession rightfully. That watch is more than just a watch. People do not take enough time today to do this. We have, of course, time everywhere, digitally everywhere, on your phone, around you. But when I'm looking at that watch, first of all, I'm really reading the time. Secondly, I have the impression that my father is always with me everywhere I go, everywhere I'm wearing that watch. And it's a transmission, it's a relationship, it's a part of the knowledge that my father transmit to me. And this is the most amazing gift and legacy he could ever made to me, because I learned so much through that watch. I learned to never give up. I learned patience, because patience is also very important in life. Everything arrives when it has to arrive. And I had struggles. It's not easy, but every day you try to be better than yesterday, and this is the most important.
Thank you, Daniela. Philippe, you are a legendary for creating the world's first Grand Petite sonnerie. Then you made a watch called the Duality, which was the first watch with 2 oscillators and a differential mechanism. Then you focus on the creation of the Simplicity, as we just discussed. Now that the future is assured, now that you have a successor, is it time to bring something else to the Philippe Dufour vocabulary? What else could we possibly see? Or
I think it's always something to do. I mean, watchmaking has no end, and we can reinvent again and again. There's so many things to do. But we are working both. It's funny because I'm working on my side on a new project. I don't want to tell you what, but and Daniela Now she's equipped with the computer, the drawing program, everything, and she's doing at night in her room. She's preparing something, but I don't know exactly what. That's that's her job, her project. And she told me, yes, when I'm far enough, I'll let you know. Okay, so I'm waiting. So that's her idea, is to start to make her own product. That's the whole idea.
That's incredibly exciting. So hang on, you were working on a project, but Philippe doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
Philippe, you're working on a project, and I don't know what it is.
Yes, exactly.
Is that fair? Sure.
Yeah.
No,
It's nice, to keep the people, to leave the people waiting. It's interesting,
I'm sure he's very excited. We're all excited to find out what both of you guys will be creating, and I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Yeah. And I love the dynamic between the two of you. I think it must be such a fun and wonderful and passionate environment in your atelier as well. Let me ask you a little bit about the launch of your foundation. So tell us a bit about that, and who is the beneficiary, and what do you hope to achieve with this foundation?
Okay, the idea. It took me about 30 years for my watches to be recognized. So today we can live from what we create. At the beginning was not easy, and with my wife Leo, we say we have to share something. That's why we create this foundation, Philippe Dufour and Elizabeth Foundation. It's a non-profitable foundation to help. In fact, to help people, could be anywhere in the world, in terms of food, in terms of health, or it could be also to help, I don't know, a young, talented guy who wants to learn watchmaking. He cannot afford the school, for example, things like that. So, and to start the foundation is created, and to start, I made a special watch for that occasion. It's a Simplicity, platinum, 38 millimeters, with, how do you call that, the dial?
Adventuring.
Aventurine, sometimes it's difficult. With the Aventurine dial, okay? And also we have some painting, the young painter made, we have about 10 different objects. Wow. And this is going to be sold at Christie auction in Hong Kong the 26th of this month. So if you're interested, no problem.
Fantastic. Philippe, you brought up something important. For many years, you would always tell me, Wei, I can't afford to wear my own watch, right? Because you would work, but you wouldn't earn very much money. Then, in the last couple of years, the secondary values of your watches went crazy. I mean, absolutely berserk. Mm-hmm. Simplicities, but even the sonneries that are up for sale as well are going for staggering sums. What do you think is the reason for this moment of recognition? And does the crazy money associated with your watches, does it make you happy, or are you somehow a bit cautious about this?
Yeah, I mean, when I see the result of some auction, it's a bit scary, I would say. But honestly, I'm happy. Because I told you, it took me 30 years to be recognized. And if the second-hand watches are higher and higher, that's leave us the possibility to increase our prices. So everything is it's natural, I would say.
Thank you. Okay, I have to ask a question, Daniela and Philippe, because I'm sure everyone is wondering that here. How does someone get a Simplicity from you? Like, is there a lottery system? Is there a interview process? Like, how does it work?
Sending an email and pray.
Hang on, let me get my phone out. Sorry. Sorry. No, Daniela, I would like to ask you, I think for your generation in particular, you fallen in love with independent watchmaking in such a big way. You know, our friend Jean Arnaud has created even a prize to identify the next generation of talent. Why is it that independent watchmaking, the things that your father created over 30 years ago, resonate so strongly with the young generation?
We have to thank, first of all, I would say my father, but also people as Gérald Janta, Daniel Roth, George Daniels, Kari Vutilainen, Mr. Journe, because many years ago, let's go back to 40, 50, 60 years ago, nobody knew who were these people coming from nowhere with watches who were at that time very expensive. But these people took time to explain to the watch curious what was a complication, the speciality of that mechanism, the high finishing, the method, how they were manufacturing these watches, and also the handmade. And why does it took that much time to be recognized? Because at that time, if you go back 30 years ago, my father would have never had enough money to have publicity on a magazine. Publicity on a magazine for only one-time appearance, it's 15K. You cannot ask a new independent watchmaker who comes from nowhere to pay that amount of money for that. He would have more pay furnitures or also the place he have to work, the electricity or anything else. But these people took time, and when people get more and more cultured, informed about what was independent watchmaking, the table were dressed for all the new generation independent watchmakers to be able to come quickly in the game and being recognized. But it's because people 30, 40, 50 years ago took time to explain it. And you will need time to recognize and have cultured being informated. And now there are also the fact that we having all these social media going faster. Yeah. We have Instagram. Here, today, it's even more easier to get known within 10 minutes worldwide. Why? Because you just have to pay a good photograph and then you post, you share, you make a story, you make a comment. These little independent watchmakers who's doing great, immense job, timekeepers, have the same tool than big brands. And this is the strength of everyone, because you're new, faster, and because of all these wonderful maestros worked hard and explained everything, they have recognition immediately.
Yeah. I would say the result of all that, you can see it, you can feel it here in this show. You know, the person who are coming to visit, they have knowledge. They know what talking about. You know, when I think about 20 years ago, nobody knew except what's the price. You know what I mean? But here they have the knowledge, and they get it through the social media. And today, for example, if somebody is buying a watch, you know, he's making a macro, he sends on the internet, you know, and the other guy say, "Hey, look, I bought one too, but mine is better. Look at the screw; it's better finished." Yeah, it's like that. The black polish is better here than here. Look, they compare. But to compare, you need the knowledge, and it's what is great today, especially for the young generation, the young watchmaker. They have marvelous tools. They have the same tools as a big brand, you know, social media, and they can do what they want, and in some minutes, all the world knows about it. That's what is marvelous. it's big change.
Absolutely. I just wanted to mention back in 2005, I had actually already written a story on Philippe Dufour without any publicity. I even did a photo shoot with Philippe Dufour, Vianney, and Peter Speakmarin that almost got Peter Speakmarin divorced. So
Oh, yeah.
it was, let's not get into it. And I think Gary G was like single-handedly collecting all of those watches, but he was like uplifting the entire industry by himself. So the question I would have for you then is you mentioned that the new generation has these advantages and the table has been set for them. I know that you are also like have been a father in some ways to watchmakers like Hervé Schuster. Tell me, like for you, from your perspective, who are the younger generation watchmakers that you like their work? You think they're working in the correct way?
Well, it's so many. I mean, Hervé, of course, is coming with a marvelous project. You have a Rake, you have brands like Laurent Ferrier, but he's not so young. But the son is behind. They arrive with beautiful Brett, I think, yes. Simon Brett, the doing thing, and it's always a pleasure for me to discover this new watchmaker because it's new ideas, new. They bring new things in terms of decoration. Why I'm the old way, Geneva waves, but they arrive with different things. It's very interesting.
But it's interesting. I think that if you were to ask every one of those watchmakers, they would certainly say they owe a debt of gratitude to you. I wouldn't be surprised if they're all in the backyard trying to chop down the jacin trees to use the same wood you use for the speculaire. But okay, not to throw Felix Baumgartner under the bus, but one of my favorite moments with Daniela was when I was on the GPHG jury. I think it was 2 years ago. And 1 year ago it was your first GPHD jury, right? And we were discussing RegZap's CC2, and Nick Fowkes, who's the president of the jury, he encourages people to be like the British Parliament. You can just get up and say whatever you feel like anytime, So Felix Baumgartner gets up and he goes, the CC2. When I look at it, I think Philippe Dufour simplicity. And then he sits down. Then this hand raises. And then and it's Daniela, and she says, "Can I say something?" And they say, "Yes, please." She gets up and she says, "It's interesting, but when I look at this watch, I don't see Philippe Dufour simplicity at all because the movement construction is different, the finishing is different, everything is different." And at some point, everyone was like, "She's right." Daniela, from your perspective, who are the people today that are making watches of your generation that you get excited by?
The fact that they continue the traditional style, but also have their own DNA. You really feel it. When you have their watches in your hand, you feel an emotion, you feel something, because there's a human touch. Of course, you can use industrial to have components and everything, but you have to put something more. Because if we just use from something, just come from a CNC without adding something, we're like the others. And this is our strength, to add that human touch, that finishing, that hand finishing, and also to put a bit of your craziness in the watch, to be different. And this is what I see, we all see, into the independent watchmaking. You have the Philippe Dufour, you have also the Theo Frey, you have the Simon Brett, you have the Hervé Schuster, you are also way other people coming into the independent watchmaking. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting a name, but if I continue, the list goes on until tomorrow. But yes, I think this is what I really appreciate. And they have respect for people, for what they did before them. They really have respect and also get inspiration about it.
The last thing I wanted to ask is, and Philippe, you mentioned this already, Dubai Watch Week. I have to say, this is probably, from my perspective, the greatest community builder and cultural initiative in watches, and it's so fun. Philippe, for you, what's the unique dimension of Dubai Watch Week? What is unique about Dubai Watch Week?
I mean, the atmosphere you have here, the friendship people are relaxed, they hug each other, they are competitors, you know, all this brand. But they hug, they laugh together, they drink together, and what the Siddiqui family made at this show, they create the watchmaker family, and it's nowhere else, you know. When you go to Geneva, a show, or before it was Basel, you know, the people are like that, you know. They don't look left or right, you know. They are the best, you know. Come on, he is just so relaxed, and people are enjoying. I'm enjoying.
Me too.
Yes, we're feeling.
I've nothing for sale, but I'm happy.
Yes, we're feeling no pressure. I think everything here is magical, and this is the only place we can have a master class with real jewelry in front of you, and you can touch it, you can compare, you can also have enough time and coolness to be able to try enamel painting. That's really amazing, and I think they arrive to celebrate watchmaking in a way that everybody feel good and accepted. And this is really a strength, and I really would like to thank the entire Dubai Watch Week team and also the Siddiqui family, because what happened 2 days ago with that rain,
the rain
coming from nowhere, they work, I think, during the whole night to make everything amazingly perfect the next day. So thanks to them, because even what shouldn't happen happened, and they were able to make that like even perfection.
Totally agree with you. Now we're going to turn the floor over to some questions from the audience. Does anyone have a question? Mr. Gergi.
Now, Gary. Hey, look. Okay.
Fantastic discussion. Thank you so much, and Wei, for your penetrating questions. So, Mr. Dufour, you mentioned, you worked in restoration. You famously have said the graveyards are full of watchmaking secrets, and you had to derive a lot of your learning about how to do things from looking at what had been done in the past. Now, the good news is you're able to pass some of those secrets along. So I'll ask you, Daniela, what's one watchmaking secret, technical or otherwise, that you've learned from your father that maybe is not generally known?
I think I haven't learned any secrets because my father don't keep secrets. For him, and me also, knowledge is universal and it belongs to everyone. I just be able to learn what he have. In fact, we really dream about the fact that we can plug a USB in his head to put in mine, or maybe clonage, but I think it's not going to be a great thing. So, no, I think what I learned is more something about humanity. Yes, of course, gesture, but also the emotion you put through your work really gonna make a difference. And also being patient, being kind, being honest, being true, and also love what you're doing can make a great difference. And this is what I learned from my father. My father, when he met my mother, really evolved in terms of humanity. He was already very humankind, human being, and very nice with people, but it even grow bigger. And I will never thank my parents enough for giving me these values.
Okay.
Thank you.
Merci.
Any other questions?
Over there. Left.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you, Hind Siddiqui and all Siddiqui family for bringing those legends on the stage. We are enjoying this speech. I want to ask my questions to Mr. Philippe Dufour. So, in my talk with your daughter, she was saying that she told me that you were not happy in the beginning seeing her as a watchmaker. In the first, when she was starting her hobby. So we want to know your feelings now when you see Daniela is doing her first simplicity. So we want to know what is your feelings now.
I don't think
you didn't want her to be a
Yeah,
watchmaker,
yeah.
but now she's completed her first simplicity, meaning she's become the right watchmaker to succeed you or work with you. How do you feel about this?
Of course, I feel very proud and glad. But you know, when she was 10 or 12 and she told me I want to become watchmaker, I was fighting with her to see how true it was, you know. And during 2 years, she came, I want to be, I said, no, it's not for you, it's an old profession and blah, 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 you know. And finally she gained, but because she has a very strong character, you know. And of course, today I'm very happy and glad to have somebody who can follow what I've started. Yes.
Yes,
you, Dr.
he
Malik.
really fight with me during 2 years just to see if I would have the shoulders for it. Not because he didn't want me to become a watchmaker. Yes, it's the complete opposite of what he's saying, but also to the fact that he knew, he maybe had a perception because of experience in life about what's gonna happen. And of course it was tough time and you wanted to be sure that I would be able to manage it correctly. And also to the fact that he didn't want it to be deceived, because if you say something you have to go until the end. You have to achieve what you started. So this is why we had that little fight during 2 years, but he never altered the great relationship we had.
Thank you, Dr. Malik, for your questions. Any last questions? If not, I would like to thank very much Daniela Dufour
Merci.
and the legend that is Mr. Philippe Dufour. Thank you.
Merci. Merci beaucoup.